Welcome back to It's a Tool Thing. Today doing a little bit of talk about impact guns. Here's the selection. These are the ones I use in the shop for the most part, not my shop truck. I want to start out with this poor excuse of an impact gun. One thing I do like is these swivels. I actually prefer the whip hoses over the swivels, but whip hoses tend to leak on me. I've had pretty bad luck with them. I mean, if you get a quality one, they'll last a while. But I've had better luck with these not leaking than the whip hoses. And at the cost of, I think they're about $7. I get them at Lowe's, these blue ones in particular. They are, I would say, well worth it. They do help you get in there and maneuver a little better. But this is the Ingersoll Hammerhead 3/8 drive. I've had this thing for a number of years. It doesn't see a ton of use, even though it looks like it's been beat. It's never had that much power. I bought the Milwaukee 90-degree impact, and I think it did have more power than this, but it was just as bulky up here in the head area. Actually, I think slightly more because it was more squared off, if I remember correctly. And it did have slightly more power, but not enough that I felt that it was worth it. So I took that Milwaukee one back. We got the 90-day return. No questions asked at Home Depot. Works pretty good. I don't try to return things just so I can try them out, but I just wasn't happy with it. If it had had more power, I would have been fine keeping it. But I've been using this one again. I went in and put it back in service, put one of those swivels on it, and I've used it quite a few times. It doesn't break a lot of stuff loose, but it does fit in places where none of these other selections here will fit. So it definitely deserves a place in the fleet, even if it is what I would consider underpowered. I don't know if I got a bad one. I've heard some people say these things work pretty good. But me personally, I'm not impressed. It does what it needs to do. It's got more power than an air ratchet, I suppose, or a cordless ratchet. And this is my go-to here in the shop. I have the 18-volt unit. And the shop truck, the compact. Actually, it's right here. One second. This one here, I tend to use the shorter batteries, though I do have a lot of the 5.0s that I'll run on it. But as you can see here, it's a little bit shorter. It's a little bit wider, but not much. It's more this right here not being tapered as much, that this one seems to get into someplace a little better just because of this width right here. It doesn't have more of a taper. But I could go with either one of these, to be honest. I've had this one a lot longer. I use it in the shop truck now, and I use this one in the shop. I could go either way. They both seem to have about the same horsepower, considering this is an M12 and this is an M18. But back to that unit there. This one here is my Workhorse. It works really well. It definitely doesn't have no 250 foot-pounds of braking torque, but it'll do, I don't know, 85, 90% of what I need to do. Basically, I never have to get my 3/8 air impact out. It's not even here on the table. I do still have it. I still have two of the titanium 3/8 drive air impacts, but I don't tend to use them. If I can't get it off with this, then I will step up to one of the 1/2-inch ones most of the time. Just because, why would I bring down the 3/8 one? If I'm going to do that, I'll just plug it in and use it. I do wish this thing had slightly more power. Or at least be able to take stuff off up to that 250 foot-pound mark. That's probably even a little more than I really would need. We'll say 150 to 200, like driveline bolts in particular. Even my mid-torque most time won't pull off the 1/2-inch drive 12-point driveline bolts. The Big Daddy 1/2-inch one will, if you can get it in there. This one here I actually got when I bought that Snap-on Epic box. It's a Matco branded. I'm not sure who makes it. 1/2-inch drive. I gotta say, I've been very impressed with this. As you can see, the height difference. It's actually slightly smaller. Probably 1/2 inch or so. and about the same width. Now, they probably make this in a 3/8 drive also. But I've been pretty impressed with it. It's got decent power. It definitely has more power than this. And it fits into pretty tight places. I use it for bell housing bolts a lot. Every now and again I use it on a drive line, though I tend to grab this one as my first go-to. This Ingersoll here, I've had it for a number of years. And it's pretty much my go-to. As you can see in the height comparison here, there's a substantial difference. Not quite, probably another third larger. And there's a weight difference also. This one does not have as much power as this titanium Ingersoll, by no means. But that being said, this thing's old and worn out, and it doesn't have as much power as this one. I don't know the history on this one, so I don't know how old it is. I know I've had this one for at least 10 years, and I beat it up on a fairly regular basis. I've been noticing, especially if I'm really hammering on something, it doesn't seem to have as much horsepower as it used to. I probably need to break down to get a new one. But the size difference, you know, I've never really gotten one of these stubby versions. As you can see, the height is pretty much the same, slightly less maybe with this one, and the actual anvil length is way shorter. But I'd never really considered getting one of these things, and I gotta say that was a mistake on my part. I'm gonna get a quality one, obviously. Always get as much horsepower as you can, but this thing, I've really been liking it. The accessibility to be able to get on top of transmission, even with the airline, to break a bolt loose, that this one won't break loose. Night and day over trying to get this one up there. Obviously this one would still break it loose, even with, you know, the other day in particular is why I thought about this. I was pulling out a transmission, and there was like no room on top. There was actually room on top, but there was a lot of stuff on the sides, and there was a cross member so close I couldn't even fit my wrist through the back over the top of the transmission. You certainly couldn't get up there and get your head up in there or anything like that. So I was having to try to work from the sides. I was actually able to use this unit here with an impact Wally 3/8 drive, a 3/8 to 1/2 inch Mac, 34 inch I believe those are, adapted extensions, one of the thick shanked 1/2 inch shanks, and I still couldn't reach it because I was trying to get it from outside the frame rail. So I backed it up with a 36 inch Mac 1/2 inch drive to 1/2 inch drive extension, and this thing was able to break that bolt loose. Granted, those bolts weren't super tight, and I wasn't able to try this one to see if I could break it loose on that particular bolt. I just couldn't get my hand up there, but I was mildly impressed. But like I said, the maneuverability, something I'd never really considered. I know this stubby, I've been really happy with the maneuverability, but if they could just get a little closer to the power on this one and this one, we'd have a real winner. So that's my thought on impact guns today. I would never recommend anybody buy one of these hammerheads. There are some other compact impacts I've never tried that are this 90-degree style, but they're more akin to this. I'm not exactly sure how they work. I know this one here has a gear set back here to transfer the air motors in here. I'm not sure. I think those actually have the motor in here, so I don't know. I know I've seen the specs, and they're talking 400 foot-pounds of torque, I think is the range that they're in. I'm just looking at them on the Cornwall Flyer here recently. And they might be something worth trying. I tend not to use air if I don't need to, but air is definitely not dead. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Comment down below about which impacts you like the best and which ones you don't. Have a great day. Please like and subscribe.